HS2 was originally envisioned as a transformational national railway, a high-capacity spine connecting London, Birmingham, Manchester and Leeds. A project designed not simply for speed, but for capacity. Supporters argued Britain's Victorian railways were reaching saturation point. The West Coast Main Line, one of Europe's busiest mixed-use railway corridors, was becoming increasingly congested with commuter, freight, and long-distance traffic, all competing for space. HS2's proposed solution was radical: move high-speed intercity trains onto a brand new dedicated line, freeing older railways for local services and freight. But over the last decade, the project transformed from a symbol of national ambition into a lightning rod for political anger. Costs escalated dramatically. Timelines slipped repeatedly. Entire sections of the northern network were cancelled. And today, HS2 survives in a far smaller form than originally promised. Yet despite the political battles, construction here in London has accelerated into something astonishing. What you're looking at here is not simply a station. It's effectively the construction of an entirely new transport district. At the heart of the site sits the enormous Old Oak Common station box, roughly 850 metres long, and excavated to around 20 metres deep. The sheer quantity of material removed from this site is staggering. Hundreds of thousands of cubic metres of earth and London clay have been excavated to create space for 6 underground high-speed platforms and 8 surface-level conventional rail platforms above. Eventually, the station will connect HS2, the Elizabeth Line, Great Western Main Line services, and Heathrow connections, making this one of the most strategically connected rail interchanges in the United Kingdom. The 6 underground HS2 platforms alone are each around 450 metres long enough to accommodate full-length, high-capacity, high-speed trains travelling at speeds of up to 225 miles per hour elsewhere on the network. Massive, reinforced concrete platform slabs are now being installed across the site. Thousands of tons of steel reinforcement have already disappeared into the structure beneath your feet. And above all this, an enormous station roof will eventually span across the entire complex. But perhaps the most extraordinary engineering is happening underground. Hidden beneath West London, HS2 is carving vast tunnels through the capital itself. The North Holt Tunnel alone will eventually stretch for over 13 miles. Giant tunnel boring machines, some weighing over 2,000 tons, are slowly grinding their way through London clay, beneath homes, roads, utilities and existing railways. These machines operate with astonishing precision, sometimes deviating by only millimetres across kilometres of tunnelling. Behind the cutter heads, crews install enormous concrete tunnel segments, one by one, forming the permanent tunnel lining as the machine advances. The logistics operation required to support tunnelling at this scale is immense. Ventilation systems, conveyor systems, spoil removal, concrete segment transport, groundwater management, all functioning continuously beneath one of the world's busiest cities. And this is where HS2 becomes politically fascinating, because despite enormous criticism, very few people seriously question the engineering capability itself. The engineering being delivered here is genuinely world-class. The question Britain is now asking is something else entirely. Why does the country struggle so badly to deliver projects like this efficiently? HS2 has become far more than a railway. It has become a national argument about Britain itself. Critics see the project as proof that the British state has lost the ability to control megaprojects. Costs which were once projected at around 30 billion are now estimated at over 100 billion. Entire northern sections of the line have already been cancelled. Manchester, Leeds, and large proportions of the original vision abandoned. Opponents would argue that the country has spent extraordinary sums of money, while hospitals, local railways, and public services remain under pressure. Some critics even describe HS2 as a prestige project, disconnected from ordinary people's concerns. But supporters argue something very different. They point out that Britain has historically underinvested in major infrastructure for decades. They argue modern economies require long-term infrastructure thinking, not short-term political cycles. And they warn that cancelling projects midway through construction can actually become more expensive than completing them. In many ways, HS2 is now politically trapped. It's too expensive to cancel, too controversial to celebrate. A railway suspended between national ambition and a national frustration. And nowhere is that uncertainty clearer than at Euston. Originally intended as the ground London terminus for HS2, Euston became one of the project's greatest political crises. Rising costs triggered redesigns, delays, and pauses to construction. At one stage, there were even serious discussions about whether HS2 trains might permanently terminate here at Old Oak Common instead. For many critics, that would have symbolised a broken project. A high-speed railway stopping short of central London. But the government has since recommitted to building Euston. Although exactly what the final station will look like and how much it will ultimately cost, that remains uncertain. The stakes are enormous, because Euston is not just a station, it represents whether HS2 ultimately feels like a complete national railway, or an unfinished compromise. Yet regardless of politics, the landscape here is already changing permanently. Entire new neighbourhoods are expected to emerge around Old Oak Common. Thousands of homes, offices, public spaces, retail districts. Supporters compare the transformation to Canary Wharf's rebirth during the late 20th century, a forgotten industrial zone transformed into a major economic hub. Green roofs, public plazas, and sustainable infrastructure are planned throughout the district. And eventually, this station could become one of the busiest transport interchanges anywhere in Britain. This landscape may one day feel completely normal, but right now, we are witnessing the transformation itself. Perhaps the biggest question surrounding HS2 is not whether Britain can still build extraordinary infrastructure. Clearly, it can. The tunnels, the bridges, the station engineering, the logistics. They demonstrate immense technical capability. The deeper question is whether Britain still poses the political stability, long-term planning, and institutional discipline required to deliver projects of this scale effectively. Because HS2 now represents something larger than railways. It reflects a country wrestling with growth, ambition, regional inequality, public spending, and national identity itself. For now, construction continues. Cranes continue to rise over West London, tunnel boring machines continue advancing beneath the capital, and Old Oak Common continues evolving into one of the largest transport hubs Britain has built in generations. Whether HS2 is ultimately remembered as a triumph or as a cautionary tale remains one of the most important political and engineering questions in modern British history. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to continue following the transformation of Britain's infrastructure from above, subscribe for more cinematic engineering documentaries and HS2 coverage. Until next time, stay curious.